Yeah, I would like to warmly welcome you to today's webinar, BIM2FM with Spacewell and Bimplus. My name is Stefan Kaufmann. I'm part of the product management team at ALLPLAN, and I would like to introduce as well our core and main speaker today, Kurt de Müllemeister, who is enterprise architect and product manager at Spacewell. Before we start now with the webinar, there's just some organizational topics I would like to speak with you. While the webinar is running, we cannot see you and we cannot hear you. So if you have any questions, you have always the chance to type your question, ask your questions in the question and answers section here on the right-hand side of the GoToWebinar solution. This webinar will be recorded, so if you don't have the chance to take part over the whole webinar, or if there's colleagues interested and you would like to show them the webinar of today, you will have the opportunity to invite these people later on to our recorded sessions. Yeah, for me, my part today is to give you a brief introduction, especially the ones of you that are not so much familiar with topics like building information modeling and digital twins, to give you some insights of what BIM is and how we see it and what the challenges are in the handover of BIM to facility management. Good, can you give us already the next slide? And second part will then be Kurt, who will give you a workflow overview of how we have resolved the issues and how we ensure seamless data management from design to construction and to facility management. The next one, please. Okay, so what is the vision we follow with together ALLPLAN and Spacewell is that we know that if we are able to provide excellent communication to anyone involved in building projects, we can maximize the value creation over the entire building lifecycle. So this is in the end why BIM is so important and interesting for us. BIM is a key technology that helps us to store and to manage all of the information we have concerning a building or defining a building. We can manage this information in its spatial context. So there's always a model, and we can enrich this model over time with ever more information. And this is, in the end, almost all to say about BIM, but it's very powerful because this BIM model and the information that is on the BIM model is easily understandable. It's very simple and fast accessible to anyone involved in the project. So if you're looking for information, you will always find it at the right place and understand it in its context, for example, with neighboring elements or with rooms or in the building context. This is half of the story. The other half of the story is this building information model data is highly structured. So it's not only helping people to understand better what there's to do and what decisions are to lead, but it's well interpretable by machines and software solutions. So we think that BIM is the key technology to improve design collaboration, to improve construction management, and to improve the building's operations too. You already jump a bit ahead. So in the end, our vision we have is that we create a digital twin. So this is all of the information we have, we put in the cloud. It's the BIM models, issue, geo-information systems, maintenance information, documents, and more. And this information is in nodes in the cloud. It's connectable. So if you see here this white connection lines, this is for me the most important part, that we don't store information only on our desktop computers, but we store it somewhere where we can use it together. And this helps people to have better informed decisions, to act more competent, and to make less errors and be faster. But it's not only the people, it's as well the buildings that they get smart and they benefit from the centralized data management in the cloud, and it's ever more as well autonomous systems like for maintenance topics, cleanings, or for construction, or even machines that use, for example, infrastructures like trains and cars. And if we next, please. Good. If we connect now this information, we will receive a huge data lake that we can even empower more by using computer science and artificial intelligence. Can you jump to the next? So this is a slide about the state of quo. So where are we with this digital twin technology? Where are we with building information modeling? You see, it's getting ever more major. So today we have well-defined model types for different purposes, like for design, for machine control, of models for simulation that give us an outlook and forecast of performative behavior of, for example, the MEP system. So it gives us a view to the future. We can define with our building information models the entire built environment. So besides the buildings that you possibly know that is there, this main topic of BIM, we can define as well landscape. We have transportation infrastructure and all of the infrastructure for supply and disposal. So altogether, there's at least I don't know any gap left that we cannot describe as a model. If you look at the building life cycle, we see that in the AC industry, the usage of this model is not as comprehensive, maybe as the asset classes we can describe. So there's more and more digital tools in place in early design processes. Of course, in the design phase where BIM maybe comes from, we see less usage at the moment on construction sites. There's different reasons why it's like this, but this construction models that are really complex and effort to produce them. But we see models, they go to construction sites already are in use. And what is starting now, I would say, with a higher interest since 2 years is the whole area of facility management and asset management. And of course, one of the reasons is that now there is this ready-made BIM models from the design process. And of course, there's even more options and use cases to use these models than for facility management tasks. And here as well, at least spoken from a German point of view, even the specifications for BIM, they only start to be developed for facility management use cases. Can you jump to the next one? Yeah. So what is the challenge now for BIM2FM handover? To understand this, I think it's important to understand what this model really does. The BIM model, you can see here one on the slide, and BIM model always consists of geometry. So this is what I meant with like showing the spatial context, so we can easily understand this geometry. But a more important part is that this is the information part. We can connect to this. So the geometry is not only geometry; it has a meaning, a semantic. For example, here it's heating system, part of a heating system, or it's a pipe, and can manage the properties of this pipe from design to construction to handover now on this geometric model. So this is this information part, and I would say almost same important is the option to link information to it. So not all of the information about this element, a certain element, is stored in a model itself. We have the opportunity like to link information on external cloud services, or we can link documents or specifications to this. And of course, all of this information should not get lost if we hand it over to facility management. But this is what is happening at the moment. At the moment, sometimes only the information is getting handed over. Sometimes it's as well the geometry, and usually link documents, or at least a linkage of the document, that get lost. So in the end, we were looking together for a method or a solution for you as a client to keep as much information on a model as we can, to have a model or a system for data management that is easy for you to maintain this model later on. So in a normal process, you would create a copy of this model, and then, or most likely, or one copy or the other copy will be maintained and the other one will get outdated. So we wanted to overcome this. And of course, all of this linked information should be there if we hand over to facility management. So if you go to the last slide. Yeah, we created on our side, on the ALLPLAN side, a solution for this BIM+. And BIM+, the part of BIM+ is that, or the, let's say, most important idea behind it is that we don't store this digital model as a file. We take that file and we create a real database from this. And this is a very powerful solution that overcomes all of the problems of handover in one step. So this database that includes all of the information of the model can be used from us, from ALLPLAN, can be maintained from any other tool out there that is open ready. And of course, this Spacewell solution, MCS, is as well connected to the same database and is maintaining the same model over time. So we don't really split let's say, the design and the maintenance models or the facility management models, but we make the facility management model system maintain the BIM model. And so we come to a data secure and data enriching process over the whole life cycle of the building. So this was a lot of information already. If you have any more questions about BIM, you can always contact me. And of course, we would be to give a deeper dive into our solutions. But today, I would like to hand over the microphone now to Kurt, that will show you in practice how this integration looks like.
Thank you, Stefan. And thanks everybody for spending some time here with me this afternoon. So in the next half an hour, I will guide you through how we have done an integration between our MCS IWMS software and ALLPLAN's BIM+ environment. But before I jump into that, I will give people here in the audience first a bit of an overview of what Spacewell's activities are, what we're doing, how we fit in the Nemetschek group, and then also a few things on the MCS software suite. I'll just try to keep this chapter as short and concise as possible. But just to give you an idea, we've been around for quite some time. We are headquartered in Belgium, but we have branch offices in various places in the world, as you can see here. And yeah, the software has been around for quite some time. We have more than 2 million users worldwide. So it's also a cloud offering that we have. And we as Spacewell are actually active in the operate and manage division within the Nemetschek group. And so there to the right, you can see that, yeah, you could say that we come last, sort of, in the BIM process, because there's first the planning and the design phase, where typically Graphisoft Vectorworks, but also ALLPLAN is active, where all these BIM models are being created and shared, and then also carried over to building and construction. And then, yeah, today we're going to talk about, okay, once we have those BIM models available after the construction, then how can we actually utilize them during the building operations? Yeah? So that's our positioning here within the group. And Spacewell itself is focusing on all these functional domains here that you can see here through the bullet points. I will not go through that in detail. Today, in the context of BIM, we are going to talk predominantly about maintenance, physical maintenance in buildings. And here, these cards represent the various products that we have in our portfolio. All of them are software products except advisory, which is just professional services and advice in those various domains here that we offer. Yeah. Today's session will focus on the MCS software. It's one of our two IWMS systems in the group. The other one is called Axerion, which is more or less similar. This solution focuses more on workflow-related solutions, where this is more space and portfolio based. These products are also connected to our smart building IoT platform called but that is for another time. So today we're focusing here on MCS software, how we have integrated it with BIMPlus. When we talk about the facility services and the processes that we support in the MCS software, briefly you can look at it as this kind of workflow where we set up a portfolio representing all your sites and your buildings and your people and contracts and all the equipment and the documents and everything that comes with it. So that's a part of master data that I will show you in a minute, how that represents itself. And of course, the sources of information to build that portfolio, of course, come from various places. But today we're going to talk about how can we use models as a source to populate our portfolio. We can do the same with 2D CAD floor plans. We have mobile apps to do inventories. We can export, import spreadsheets. We have an API, etc., etc. That's not the topic for today. Once we have that portfolio in place, then we can create actions on it. So we can actually create service requests, repairs, or also planned preventive maintenance, or even alarms. And those lead to preparation of work, spare parts, capacity and resource planning, and then finally execution of the work with recording of time, materials, checklists, compliancy lists, etc., closure, so on. And across all that, we have some reporting and dashboards and ERP integration in the software. So, I mean, that's in a nutshell the process. Again, today we're going to focus on using BIM to fill our portfolio. And then from that portfolio, how can I create a work order for maintenance and repair? So that's basically going to be the story of the demonstrations today. And so for that means we have the application in place. Today we are going to talk about the model integration in the application. But as I mentioned, we also have a 2D solution in place, and one does not exclude the other. So we can, for the same building, make these combinations. Basically, you create objects in MCS, and in this case here we can see what we call maintenance objects. That's just equipment. And on these equipments, we can then define maintenance plans that require regular inspections or maintenance on certain weeks of a calendar. And these then, for example, lead to work orders that can be then dispatched to technicians. And people have various user interfaces to interact with these work orders. So first of all, we have a full web-based portal solution where you see all the work orders that can be allocated to you and then do some handling here. Most people in the field are using our mobile work manager application where they can see details of the work order, where they have to go, sign off, and all that. So it's in this process of creating and handling work that we're going to see what benefit a BIM model can bring to these people. And then, as I mentioned, the NCS software is also connected to our Kubuntu platform, where we can actually also add sensors and connect it to the model, and also do occupancy monitoring, health quality monitoring, and all that. Okay, so that was just a brief intro on who is Spacewell, and what are we doing, what are our products. So now let's jump into the real topic for today, which is the integration between BIMPlus and NCS. So basically, the story is, as a building owner, facilities manager, how can you actually use those BIM models that are available for your portfolio for the processes of building maintenance, cleaning, space management, moves and changes, etc. So how do you do that, and what is best practice? So today we're going to focus on building maintenance process. For that purpose, the model that we present is as follows. For us, the asset information model plays a central role as part of the master data. So asset information model is actually the model that contains the, let's call it as-built of your assets, your current as-is situation. And nowadays, very often that information is saved as BIM models, as part of documentation. So they play a very central role in our solution. And then Nemetschek has solutions around that for planning and design, build and construct, operate and manage. So here we have, of course, all these activities. Here we also have a lot of scheduling and collaboration. And then here we have property, space management, etc. See, just to position the brands that are active here today. So ALLPLAN's activities are very often here in planning and design, build and construct. Spacewell activities are in the operate and manage. But the BIM+ software is actually, collaboration and sharing of BIM models, and that solution fits right in the heart of this whole pie of solutions that Nemetschek Group can offer. So how does that now work with these pieces of software? So what's the architecture of what you're going to see today? It's like this. It's a 3-layer architecture. So originally, BIM models are created in these various authoring tools here from many different brands, not only within Nemetschek, but that's all fine. At the heart of it, essentially, every BIM model contains 3D elements, geometry, that's what Stefan also just mentioned. Then also attached to that, we have the physical data, which is what we call the property sets in BIM terminology. And then there's also attached documents and hyperlinks. And so the combination of all that is actually what is a BIM model, or multiple BIM models that represent a physical building. To collaborate, we have to store these BIM models in middle layer and asset information model software. That's exactly what BIMPlus is. So BIMPlus can take IFC files or SketchUp files, and you can upload them. But as Stefan mentioned, it's not just a BIM server that shares BIM files. No, what's happening in BIMPlus is that when you have uploaded your BIM models, they are converted in the background to a real asset database. And it's that database which is accessible through the BIMPlus API. And we have integrated our AWMS software with that API. So the sharing happens here. All the BIM information stays in this middle layer and does not go away. From those BIM models, during the import, which I'm going to show you next how that works, we actually can create managed objects. So objects in that BIM model where we have particular interest in as facilities managers. And these are typically the floors and the rooms in the buildings, because we need that for cleaning, for space management, for and various purposes, but also the equipment on which we have to do maintenance. Yeah. So we want to create or populate our database with a subset of all the element information that is available in BIMPlus, in the BIM models. Yeah. And we also want to visualize that and consult that and update that, including the data and the attachments. Yeah. Then we further enrich that, because this is part of our portfolio, as I mentioned. We then further enrich that with maintenance data, like periodical maintenance plans, work orders for repair and replacement, or usage data. So who is the owner of a piece of equipment, who is using it, what cost center is it, and all that. And so all these processes here are handled in MCS through our managed objects, but they have permanent connections to BIMPlus. And yeah, the BIMPlus data comes from the original BIM authoring tools. So that's a bit the story. I think this is probably, if you want to remember one slide of this presentation, this is probably the main thing. So what this architecture actually means, I hope to make that clear during the presentation. So it means that the solution of BIMPlus and MCS together is a cloud-based platform that you can access through your web browser, and it works with various IFC formats. It can take BIM information from various authoring tools. Yeah. What can we do with that? We can import BIM models, we can export them again, we can update again. This important part is revision control, because a BIM model, even during operations, is not static. Buildings undergo change every time, yeah, constantly. Not always big renovations, but there are always changes in one or two rooms or a corner or a wing somewhere. And we have to keep our facilities management database in sync with that. Yeah. It obviously supports multiple models, but that is more the benefit of BIMPlus, yeah? And we utilize that. What can we do with it? Well, we can view and explore the BIM models from the MCS software. We can consult and search all the property sets, so we don't have to make a choice. Which properties do we want to import in the MCS software? And the answer is simple. We do not duplicate information. We just make all the information available. So there's only one place where the property sets are stored. We can compare revisions, and it's of course integrated with software. Okay, enough theory. I think that you're all eager to see how that works. And just to give you an idea, I have a couple of demos here. Maybe before we do is just quickly jump to BIMPlus for those who may not have seen it. Yeah? So BIMPlus is the ALLPLAN product, and in ALLPLAN, in BIMPlus, you can create so-called projects. A project is typically a building or a site for which you want to maintain and share BIM models. So in this environment here, I can have a lot of projects. The project that we are looking at here right now has one BIM model and an attached document. It's a simple demo, but let's just quickly take a look, because this is the model that we're going to use throughout the rest of the presentation. Yeah, so this is the user interface of BIMPlus. I have my model here broken down in a couple of disciplines, and there's also a topology here of different floors that I can visualize. So I can easily navigate through that. I can click on items like these solar panels, for example, and then I can consult the property set of these solar panels, or of this wall, or this window here in the roof, as you can see. So that's it's a convenient user interface to do all sorts of exploration querying, searching, verification, measuring distances and angles, etc. A full demo of BIM+ is not a topic for today. So for those people who would not be familiar with that, please get in touch with ALLPLAN, or yeah, there are plenty of videos on BIM+ available also on YouTube. But, so this model here is now going to be used in MCS. So yeah, the prerequisite is of course that you have BIM models and that you publish them as a project in on the BIM+ server. So now let's take a look at how we can utilize that in MCS. So here you now have a view on the MCS web portal where you can see here this navigator is a breakdown of our portfolio. So it has various areas, and then we have sites and buildings. So here I have now created this building called C3A. And in the MCS database, it has nothing under it. So it's completely empty. As you can see here, all the square meters are zero. There are nothing created. So let's now take a look at BIM models. Here I have a list of all the BIM models already in my database, and we're now going to add one. So I select the building that I want to have. And then in BIM project, this is a list from BIM+, all the projects to which I have access, and you can see there is one BIM model in this project which is not in MCS yet. The first step is we're going to import locations. So this BIM import wizard gives me a view of what is in BIM+, and we have integrated this viewer for BIM+ as well. And I can consult all the property sets without leaving the MCS user interface. And this is exactly the same procedure as what I just demonstrated through the BIM+ user interface, but it's completely integrated in MCS. So here we now see that on the building level, we have 24 rooms that we want to import. And the BIM attribute name maps to the categories of rooms in MCS. We need to tell what type of or what category of room something is before we can import. But the designer forgets to fill in that property for some of the rooms. So I can do this now here as a preparation step, saying all these are offices. Yeah. So the better the designer has done that mapping homework, the less work I have, but I can still do the mapping here at runtime. And now we validate if all these rooms are okay for import. So if I have green checkboxes, everything fine. See, I have now prepared a list of rooms and yeah, of course, the floors to which they belong. And what is now happening is actually this list that I've prepared is now being imported in MCS. So as you can see here, for each item that I've selected in the BIM model, it has created a new room and a new floor in my facilities database with a unique ID. And we also store the unique link to BIM+ for each of these elements, so that later I can just also see what all the property sets in the BIM model are of that room. We'll come to that in a minute. So that's a way of showing how we actually do import. And for maintenance objects, so that's for the equipment and the building elements, we can do the same. So here, again, it's the same procedure. You select a BIM attribute that contains the categories in MCS. And yeah, we then fetch what is in BIM+ currently. So that's a lot of information in various disciplines. We're now, for this purpose, we're not going to import any walls or rooms. We're just going to do some of the MEP equipment where the designer has mapped a lot of things to sanitary and rainwater, as you can see. Some other things have not been mapped yet. Of course, if you want to import almost 1,000 objects or sometimes 10,000 objects, yeah, this is a bit time consuming. So here, for the sake of the demo, we'll only do a part. Yeah. So you see, everything here that you want to import can also be visualized, just to make sure that you know what you are importing. Yeah, let's go up. And if we sort on category, then we can multi-select everything that has been mapped, yeah, like this, and validate. And so we will mark that we want to import it, and we validate if that's possible. Now, for these two there at the top, yeah, you cannot import that because they are on a floor that is not in the database yet. So I'll just basically here for the demo, I will skip it. And I can do that afterwards. You can import in various chunks multiple times if you want. Doors and windows were also mapped. So we're also going to use that as because we require maintenance on them. Yeah. Now, again, there is one door at the, yeah, it's a window in the roof, but that roof has not been created in MCS yet. So there's a dependency. And let's take a look. Finishes, we're not going to do that. Inventory, yeah, we'll just do a subset of all the furniture that is there. Yeah. So here I have some Vitra chairs. So these were not mapped, so I can do the mapping to the appropriate category here. These are tables, right? Let's go down. So there's more chairs there. We'll just do a few chairs and a few desks, and that'll be it. But you understand the procedure. So the better the mapping has been done beforehand, the less mapping I have to do here at runtime, but I can still do that. Yeah. And this is also a table, and yeah, some more chairs. Okay, so what we have selected so far. Let's do that. We mark for import and we validate. Okay, it's all green. And so you can see in the bottom now how many objects I have validated. Steel design, we're not going to do that. So let's press next. So everything that I've prepared now is again in this list, has been verified and validated. So I can now basically start importing this list. So 97 objects at the moment. Yeah, so this is just a sequential process that takes a few minutes. Meanwhile, let me explain what is happening. So we are creating those objects in the MCS database with a minimum set of information. It's just the identification and the category, yeah, the name and the type. But all the property sets of these doors and windows, they stay in BIM+. We don't have to duplicate all that information, yeah, because we will make that information accessible from the MCS user interface. And I will show you that in a minute, how that works. So you see, I can do this for rooms and floors and for all the equipment. And I'm now doing this with one model for the demo, but in reality, for larger buildings, you have multiple models for one building. And so there's the architectural model, then there's an electrical model, there's an HVAC model, there's a structural model, etc. This is all supported. So we support multiple models for the same file that hold various aspects of the building. The requirement is, of course, that you have to upload all these models to the project in BIM+, and then through the same BIM import wizard here, you can actually populate the MCS database with all that BIM information. Which is a strong thing, because we at MCS, we don't like data duplication too much, because that leads to potential synchronization problems. So we wanted to stay away from that by just doing a permanent integration and not a data duplication. So the benefits of that will hopefully become visible at the end here of this process. So we're almost there. Yep, the chairs have been imported, the shower, there's a kitchen sink there, bathroom sink. Okay, right. Okay, and yeah, I can continue in loops here doing this multiple times. And once I've done it, there is another BIM model here, a row in my database, and when it was imported and by whom. And now I can show it without leaving the MCS software in BIM Explorer. So this now opens all the geometry, which is in BIMPlus. This is not in MCS, but we are using MCS as our user interface. And here we can now search for some of the maintenance objects that we have just imported. So if we take okay, I can select here one or multiple. So all these chairs, highlight, where are they? So they're shown there in red. So that's just an example of the result. After an import, you actually get this. You get a BIM Explorer window on your building that gives you access to all the BIM data that are in BIMPlus and that are connected to this building. Now, how can you then use that? Because importing, yeah, that is something that a specialist is doing from time to time. But more important is, how do you use it in daily life? And there are a lot of people who are using it like this. So again, it's the same building, and we're launching the BIM Explorer. So let's have a look at what we can do with it. BIM model opens, and just by using my mouse, I can of course navigate. I can control the camera to look at the building from the front, the top, the side, or a perspective view. That is very obvious, and that's nothing complicated. And you just rotate and you zoom by scrolling with your wheel mouse. You really don't need training for that. There's an option to hide. So if I hide the slabs here of the roof, then I get access to the interior of the building. And let's stop the hide mode. We can even slice the model. Let's have a look like this. So this is a room. Click. And I have a BIM data tab. And this is at runtime fetching the property sets that are stored in BIMPlus, and we display that here. But it's also an MCS room, which is linked. So that's a room that I have just imported. So you see we have a tab with MCS data and with BIM data. So this solar panel here has not been imported as an object. So these neither. So I only have a BIM data tab, but I can still access all the property sets of everything through my MCS user interface. And that's the beauty of this integration, even for objects that are not in MCS. So here I'm now slicing that building horizontally with a horizontal plane, which makes it then easy, for example, to just look at the ground floor. And there we have the furniture, and we have imported that furniture, remember? So I again have MCS data. Yeah, and the same here for various things. Yeah, let's close that. And we can even slice our building also through a vertical plane, whatever, and then that makes it easy to look at the inside on multiple floors. Yeah, stuff like that. That's navigation and exploration. So you can navigate, you can hide objects, you can click, you can slice. And now I'm showing what you already seen that briefly, that we can search in this BIM model. And I get a list of all the equipment here. Again, select one or multiple, or like this, all these chairs, where are they? And they're appearing here. And now we can do something particular. Imagine, yeah, let's just unselect everything, that there is an issue somewhere with a bathroom sink. So I can just search for sink, and that gives me all the sinks in the model. So this bathroom sink here, highlight, where is it? Yeah, there. Yeah, so it's an MCS object. Yeah, and it has a BIM dataset that is in BIMPlus. I can now create a work order for this item. So in MCS, you can create work order templates. These are just sheets to fill in. So I'm picking one here. This is just an example, technical issue, and now I have to fill in this request, and some of the fields have already been pre-populated for me because I'm using a certain template. So priority has already been specified, but I can specify severity, for example, and I don't have to tell where it is and what object it is because I have selected that in the BIM model. So the only thing that I have to tell the system is what is the problem. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm saving my work order. So that's just the use case of, yeah, you can search items in a building, you can select them, and you can create a work order for it, yeah, with a number. Okay, now that is of course the story of the person who reports something. But now let's take a look at how the service technician is seeing that. Now these service technicians are not going through the Space Explorer. They know that they have to work on all the work orders that have been assigned to them. So they will navigate to the work order module, and they will see lists of work orders that have been published for them. So this is now work orders this month, everything, and obviously the one that I've just created is on top of the list here, depends on the sorting. And here I have a description of that work order. Yeah, problem is that the sink is clogged. Yeah, but where is that sink? Imagine that the technician is not familiar with the building. Okay, it's in that location. And I have objects here. Is that kitchen sink? Yeah. And then I have two buttons here, details and BIM Explorer. If I click details, yeah, I see details of that kitchen sink, yeah, which is an MCS object, but also BIM data, click, and this fetches the BIMPlus data. Again, even without opening the graphical user interface, I have access to all the property sets in my BIM model, which can be very handy for that person. If there's a spare part number or something, I can look it up here. But of course, you can also highlight where that kitchen sink is located in the building. And again, here, illustrating. Okay, so that's just an example of how a 3D model permanently connected to your facilities system can actually help you in your facilities processes. And in this case, it's just a simple repair of a defective piece of equipment, that might need replacement or repair or whatever. Yeah, so that is actually in a nutshell how we utilize BIM to our advantage in daily operations. I'm just keeping an eye on the clock. We have 10 minutes left, and that gives me just enough time for the last part of the demo. Is, yeah, this is all nice and well, but our buildings change. Yeah, and how do we handle that? Yeah, the typical scenario in buildings during operation is that we have a lot of small changes, but quite frequent. It depends a bit on the industry. In more technical buildings like hospitals and factories, you have more changes than in office environments or in school buildings. But anyway, everybody is confronted with change from time to time. So how do we deal with that in our solution? Well, we were very happy with the revision mechanism that exists in BIMPlus. Because in BIMPlus, if there is a change to the geometry, yeah, then the designer in ALLPLAN or in Vectorworks or in Revit, whatever, yeah, they can make adjustments and then republish that in BIMPlus not as a new model, but as a new revision of an existing model. And what BIM+ is doing with that is, again, background processing in the database. It's part of their engine. They actually create revision comparison lists between two revisions. Yeah? And that is super handy. You can basically see that here in the screenshot. Purple is modified things. Blue is also modified things. Green is new objects, so there's a new wall here, there's another new wall here, and deleted objects here, this door is no longer there, and that beam is no longer there. Yeah, that's super. So that's exactly what we needed for the MCS software. So in case that there is a new revision in BIM+, we can check that because we can check for revisions. We can see here which revision, like here, this revision in MCS is number 2, but there is a revision number 3 in BIM+. So that's more recent information in BIM+ than in MCS. So what can we do? Update our BIM model. Yeah, so I'm selecting the BIM model and I'm launching the update wizard. Okay. So this wizard now connects to BIM+. First, you can see that loading from BIM server to fetch all the latest information. Yep. And I can see now that there are 3 revisions in BIM+. Here, yeah, and yeah, in that model there are now 637 that are not in MCS. I have changed and I've deleted objects. So okay, then the wizard will help me processing all these. So this is a 6-step wizard. Yeah? The first 2 steps is about new floors and rooms and new equipment. But I'm lucky there are no new floors. So go to the next. But there are a lot of new maintenance objects that I have not processed in the previous step. So this is actually the same procedure as what you just saw when we link a new model. Again, I will just do a small part of it just to tell you the principle. So, okay, I have new doors here. Yeah, I can show them in the BIM model. And yeah, just to keep it simple, they were not mapped, or I did not look at BIM attributes, but I'll just say that these are all interior doors. And validate them and then mark them for import. And so that's business as usual. And then I have changed locations. So 19 rooms have been changed. Now, there can be all kinds of changes. Rooms could be smaller, bigger, but could also have changed property sets. And in that case, I have an equal sign because it's not relevant for MCS because we're not duplicating those properties. Yeah? But here, for room number 7, which is there, I can still see the difference. And apparently the description has been changed, and that is something that we use in MCS. And for the other room, that room, again, also the description has been changed. Okay, simple. So again, I mark now, I'm not marking for import, but for update. Yeah? And then with maintenance objects, we have the same. Yeah? So we have 19 doors and windows where things have changed. We validate to see if we have relevant changes. No, it's easy. MEP equipment, all my plumbing fixtures. Let's validate. Yeah, well, there are a few here. Like if we look at the difference, yeah. So in revision 2, they were in another room than in revision 3, as you can see. Okay, so I need to process that. And the same here, it's in another room. And somebody has moved equipment. Okay, so we're going to update. And then for furniture and all the inventory equipment, it's the same. It's all valid. Again, might be that you see, from that room to room 27, people have moved furniture around in the new version of the BIM model. Fine. Okay, so it's a matter of cross-checking, mapping, validating, and then marking for update. The last two parts of the wizard is what do we do with stuff that is deleted? Yeah. In this case, these two rooms, 11 and 12, are no longer there in the BIM model. But I'm not going to delete those rooms in MCS because they have a history. Yeah? So there we utilize archiving. Yeah? So my action will be archive. Yeah, and in this case, my validation is okay, is not okay, because I don't have the rights to do an archive action in my MCS database. So yeah, I cannot do that. So we're also checking rights. But okay, let's skip that. For maintenance objects, it's the same. There could be work orders attached to maintenance objects. There can be maintenance plans. So we're not going to delete them, although they are not there physically in the building. We're going to archive them in our facilities management system. Yep. And again, so this leads to an action list here with inserts of new equipment and updates of existing inventories, and then deletion of number of items that become archived. And again, it's then a matter of processing this list, which is done automatically through the MCS API. So yeah, that in a nutshell gives us an overview of how we do that. Do you see here? It's now processing, it's creating maintenance objects. Then it's going to update rooms. That is happening next. Updated the room, yep. And then it's further updating of maintenance objects. Okay, we don't have to go through that video until the end because it's just processing of that. But I hope that I've given you a glimpse on how we can use BIM+ to our benefit and how we have integrated this in MCS. So we can import BIM data, we can then visualize and search and navigate, get access to all the property sets, and whenever there is updates, new revisions, we can also process that and then keeping our facilities management up to date.
Thank you, Kurt, for this presentation today, and thank you to all of the participants for joining us and being interested in into facility management workflow. I hope that we get connected and we stay connected, and that we meet you soon here if we have more topics in this domain. Yeah, thank you.